So turn, turning again to the concept of the book series, how does the series navigate the tension between normative theological claims and the critical academic inquiry, particularly when addressing themes like prophecy and sacred authority? As we know, these are questions that come up quite a bit in academia on Islam in the European context.
Yes. Yeah, for this was actually the third reason why we founded this series, and this is the existence of academic Islamic theology in Germany, because both of you are working in Islamic studies, secular Islamic studies. Um, so, and for my part, I'm working in Islamic theology, and we thought it interesting. I mean, we have been working together for a long time already, but this collaboration, I think, is quite important because Islamic theology needs secular Islamic studies, but I think the contrary is true as well. And I wouldn't call it navigating, but this, let's say, gap between, let's call it Muslim scholarship, classical or modern, and academic research. Um, from my impression, my experience, the dialogue between the two hasn't been so fruitful until now. I mean, there's some dialogue, but it's not really clear who is where and who is doing what and who is responsible for what, etc. It's a little bit, if you even look at the Arabic world and academic life, or even Europe, you know, that there are, I may say a bit polemically, there are scholars of Islamic studies in Europe who think that they can be normative and tell Muslims what they have to believe, you know, which is not their role, I think.
Not to believe.
Yes, and not to believe. And then there are scholars of Islamic studies in Muslim world who don't really engage politically or don't really engage with, you know, what they're studying with. So there was this idea, you know, of again establishing, you know, a platform for publications which allow this sort of dialogue on the European level, because he's Fonseca is in French academia, Luca in Italian, and you have Germany, so it's really a European project, even if you're all at Italian next. But so this idea,
One, yeah, Italian.
yes. So this idea that academic cultures in Europe are quite that diverse, actually. Okay, I mean we have common, of course, principle and standards, but the history is different, you know. So it would be important, you know, and also interesting for both disciplines, you know, current collaboration. And I think for Islamic theology, it's important, you know, to engage with secular Islamic studies in order to understand the viewpoint of Islam, yeah, the secular point of view of Islam, because we are living in a secular context, and we have to understand how people view Islam who are not Muslims, you know, and to engage with this on an academic level. So this is really important, I think, for Muslim life and thought in Europe. You know, not to be in opposition only, but to try to understand, you know, this universe, let's say, or this type of intellectual engagement. And Islamic theology is, I would say, in the middle. You know, it can understand both universes. The universe of secular Islamic studies, of completely naturalistic consideration of revelation of the sources, etc. And also classical Muslim scholarship. And academic Islamic theology is a little bit like a translator or a bridge, I would say, between the two, because it's able to understand the one, but also to have insight into the others, not only from outside, but from the inside. And this is why I think also secular Islamic or non-confessional Islamic studies needs Islamic theology, I think, you know, because uh, considering the example of prophecy which you mentioned, you see this very clearly, I think. Okay, the way prophecy has been studied, I mean, of course, there are notable exceptions. Okay, as in the theories was one, and Anori Schimmel and others. But I would say in the mainstream of Islamic studies, the way prophecy has been studied doesn't match with how prophecy is considered by Muslims themselves. I mean, the importance it has, the importance it has in their life and in their religious life, in their religious practice. There is a sort of disbalance, a gap, and this is why I think that, for the example of prophecy, the same holds for hadith, I think, and for spirituality, actually, um, even a non-conceptual Islamic studies needs the input from Islamic theology. So this is we try, we see what happens, by bringing studies together. Okay, from academic Islamic theology, from Islamic studies, and yes, we're very happy that we have already some volumes on prophecy, on transmission, on spirituality, from academic theology and from some